one of the challenges that we're facing is a demographic shift. And we know that the population of the continent is expected to double by 2050. We're just 25 years away from that, landmark. And I wanted to hear your thoughts. Dr. Moeti talked about homegrown solutions. And those homegrown solutions will have to come from this youthful population, and they will also have to be led and sustained by this youthful population. What do you see as the opportunities for young people's engagement and leadership at this moment?
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Moeti, for your intervention. That was very insightful. And for your question, Rumbi, it's a very good question, actually. And then the answer lies in the answer that I'm going to give right now. Young people are already reshaping Africa's economy and governance. They're already doing it. And a real example of that is a young person who has been all over the news recently because he decided to sell sardines, 5 dirhams per kilos in big cities, while the same sardines cost 3 times more, 10 to 20 dirhams, for example, in cities like Marrakesh and Casablanca. And why is that happening? Is because this young person who's reshaping the whole country economy decided to cut out the intermediaries who actually drives up the food prices. And this issue is actually an issue all over Africa, across Africa. So this young person is actually what he's doing is he's, without waiting for government reforms, he found a way to challenge market prices using digital tools, of course, because he got famous while using TikTok. And his story is a perfect example. I just gave you the perfect example of a young person based in Morocco, because I come from Morocco, who literally changed the whole food prices scene because he decided to cut out intermediaries. And this is something that hasn't been done before. And he talked about it using TikTok, using digital tools. And he didn't wait for government reforms. He went out and he did it himself. So his story is a perfect example of how young Africans are not just pointing out the problems, they're actually going out there and finding solutions. And then there is the sustainability angle. The climate crisis is a youth crisis more than anything. Young people are more climate anxious than any other generations. And many solutions that are already in the market right now, especially in Africa, are actually youth-led. I'm thinking about the Tanzanian young woman who turned plastic waste into bricks that are stronger than concrete. I'm also thinking about that African startup who turned shrimp's waste into fertilizers, and that has something that hasn't been done before. And these fertilizers are actually being used right now in many organic farms across Africa. And so African government should be funding these ideas, not slowing them down with bureaucracies. And this is the main takeaway that I want to give today. The real opportunity is for governments to recognize that young people are not just the future, we are already the present. And we are already solving solutions that are right now present in Africa. So that's why we need to support them and empower them and not stand in the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Really strong recommendations that are being made there very subtly. I think there are leaders of governments in the room who are hearing this plea to not hold back young people through bureaucracy, but allow them to soar as they innovate and come up with homegrown solutions. On that note, Ameimة, I wanted you to share a little bit more about your thoughts and maybe even reflecting on your own journey about the sense of ownership. There's been in many of the presentations this morning recommendations that, you know, we need to become more self-reliant, we need to become more autonomous. What does that look like from a young person's, a young leader's perspective?
Well, the first thing that we need to acknowledge today is self-reliance is not something that we think of or we're dreaming of. It's already something that young people are already working on today in Africa. In fact, my presence here is a proof of that. As a young, proud African and a politician, I've been all over Africa, invited by youth-led organizations that are really committed in and strong believer in self-reliance. And this alone shows that we are not just talking about ownership, but we are actively talking about it and working on it. When I get invited by these youth-led organizations asking me to talk about like my journey, how I made it to politics, why I made it to politics, I really try to deliver key messages like I'm doing here today, is like how we need to empower more young people to take ownership of their own journeys and our continued journey. And this alone shows that we are not just talking about ownership again, but we're actually working on it. And we believe in building Africa from within, and we are committed to make that happen. And for me, the true autonomy of African is shifting from dependency to ownership. And for example, economically, we still rely too much on external factors, and Dr. Moeti said that very well.